Hey guys, Chris here. Tonight we have a story about two kids that are on Wizard Island in Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. And there, while hiking, they experienced something very strange, mysterious, and even frightening. That's next. Okay guys, tonight we are in the cabin and we have a very special beer tonight, and I'm going to tell you why. This is called, from the Great Lakes Brewing Company, which is out of Cleveland, Ohio, the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. And this is what it says. The Edmund Fitzgerald Porter is a robust and complex porter. It's bittersweet tribute to the legendary fighter's fallen crew taken too soon when the gales of November came early. And if you don't know the story, on November 10th, 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald freighter in Lake Superior, which was the largest ship at that time in that decade, got caught in this fierce storm at night. And these large waves and the high winds took the ship down. And it's still a mystery exactly what happened, because the ship cracked in half and is now laying on the bottom, on the floor of Lake Superior. And 29 crew members, all the crew members, perished that night. And that is exactly 50 years ago this month. And that's why this is a special beer tonight. So the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. So we're going to take a crack at that. And if you've never heard the song by Gordon Lightfoot, listen to that and then check on the story of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. But this is the porter here. Ooh, it is a dark beer. I don't know if you can see that. Looks rich though, doesn't it? Look at that. Wow. Going nice and tall here. And we're going to take it out of the cup tonight. No, we're going to take it right out of the can. I've never tasted this before, so. Ooh, wow. Right away, it's kind of got this coffee mocha flavor going on. That's kind of a surprise. Not really bitter. Definitely not sweet. It's kind of bittersweet, like they said in the can here. That is 6.0 ABV on that. I really like that. It's got kind of a really dry finish to it. Like 20 seconds later, I'm kind of licking my tongue. But it's really flavorful and robust. So there you go. To the 29 crew members and to Edmund Fitzgerald. Cheers. Our story takes place in the great state of Oregon. Oregon is known for its wilderness, wildlands, just beautiful country up there. And it has several national forests, thousands of acres in the east of BLM land, 4 national monuments, wild western coast on the west side, and 1 national park called Crater Lake National Park. This lake was formed 7,700 years ago when this volcano, 12,000 foot tall volcano called Mount Mazama, exploded. This massive explosion blew this volcano, collapsed it, and it created this caldera, this giant crater. And over the centuries, it filled up with rainwater and snowmelt. And there is no lake, there is no river coming into it or going out of it, and therefore it's very pure. You can see about 134 feet deep into it because it's so pure and so blue. And this lake, Crater Lake, is the deepest in the United States and one of the deepest in the world. It's 1,949 feet deep. Just incredible. And it's got several features about it. It's a great hiking park. It just looks incredible, and there's a road that goes around it and a lot of scenic overlooks. Because it's a crater, it's very steep sided around the shoreline, so it's very hard to just go to the shoreline like Lake Tahoe or any other lake. And on this lake, there's several things. There's the Phantom Ship Island, this jagged lava rock sticking out of the lake, and it looks like a phantom ship in the fog or low light. And there's also a thing called the Old Man of the Lake, and this log fell into the lake about 120 years ago. And for whatever reason, it's floating vertically like this, and it's still in the lake floating around, and they can go out and see this. And one of the most mysterious things on this lake is Wizard Island. This island is a cinder cone, almost a mini volcano, and it's got a little crater at the top of it and pine trees around it, and this Wizard Island is very mysterious. The rangers have seen strange lights on it at night, and then they go to investigate and there's nothing there, and they've heard other things about this island. And this is where in 1997 Joey, who was 15 years old, he was living in Oregon with his family, and he had relatives in the area in Oregon. And his mother recommended that summer, 1997, he go work with his Uncle Roy in Crater Lake in the park. And Uncle Roy had a business with his boat. He did boat tours as a concessionaire for Crater Lake. And you do the tour from Cleetwood Cove, and then you can do the Phantom Rock and look at the cliffs and the Old Man of the Lake. And then there's another tour where you go to Wizard Island. You can do hikes out there. Do a hike to the top of this volcanic cone, which is about 763 feet above the lake. And this island is about 316 acres. And Joey got a job with his uncle that summer. He was really excited about this. And he showed up the first day, and his uncle taught him what he needed to do to help him out, just to assist him, a little extra help. And he wanted Joey to talk to the tourists about the different things about the lake and the lake itself. And Joey was up for this. He was really excited, and he learned how to work the microphone, and he was the tour guide at 15 years old. And then the uncle would help out as well, and he would manage the boat. Uncle Roy managed the boat. So over the next few weeks, Joey and Uncle Roy worked out their routine and what their jobs were and how to work together. And Joey was quickly learning, and he was having fun with it and really enjoying being kind of the guy telling the stories about the lake and the history and the facts. And he also enjoyed talking to the tourists on the boat and finding out what they liked and where they've been. And they were working really well together. On this particular day, Uncle Roy's daughter called him and asked him if he could take their granddaughter, his granddaughter, out on the boat with Joey. And so they met that afternoon up at this Cleetwood Cove trailhead, and there's about a mile hike down to the cove, and that's where the boat would depart. And they brought this 9-year-old Abby, really cute little girl, curly hair, really talkative, and Joey was really happy to show her around the boat and get a life jacket on her and kind of be responsible for her and just have her sit back and watch him do his thing. And they were going to do the Wizard Island tour with some tourists that wanted to do the hike to the top of this cinder cone. As they're heading over there, doing their routine with the stats of the lake, Uncle Roy was thinking that it might be kind of fun for the kids to go check out the island, and then he would come back and pick everybody up as he finished off the rest of the tourists around the lake. And he asked them, "You guys want to go check out the island?" And they said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And so they were going to go with the group of tourists that were going to climb this cone. They got there, dropped them off, and they all started hiking together. Joey quickly learned that the people that were in this group were going at a much faster pace than he was with Abby. And after just a few minutes, they were pretty much gone, and nobody was really responsible for Abby and Joey, so they just thought, okay, we'll just catch up with them on their way back, and we'll meet down by the lake and wait for the boat. Joey's waiting for Abby, and she's checking things out, looking at rocks, and there's at the lower part of the trail, there's these big rocks, and the forest is a lot thicker, and she was just having fun being out in nature. And Joey just kind of let go of it and kind of relegated himself to, you know what, I'm not doing this hike to get to the top. I'm just going to hang out here with Abby, and we're going to slowly work our way up the trail. After about 20 minutes, Abby and Joey are by themselves. And there's no one else on the island, because this island, you just can't get out there by yourself. You have to take the tour boat. And the only people on the island were these tourists that were up ahead heading to this cinder cone. He heard in the forest, and it's pretty steep, there's a bunch of switchbacks that head up to this cone, but he heard in the forest off to his right, sounded like a rock that got dislodged and was rolling down the slope. And he waited and listened, and then he heard it again. Another rock come rolling down. This one sounded like it was kind of tossed out there. He heard it kind of bounce. And then a third time. This really spooked him, because he knew that Uncle Roy ran the boat, and there was no one else should be on the island. There's no camping on Wizard Island in this national park. And the only other people were this group of 5 tourists hiking to the top. And he knew they wouldn't throw rocks down to kind of mess with them. So he thought, okay, there's something really weird going on here. He didn't know what that was. And so he got Abby, and they started moving up the trail a little faster. And he thought, well, maybe there's just some people here and they're screwing around off. Maybe they don't even know we're here. They're working their way up the trail, going at Abby's pace, find a nice rock, and they sit on it together, and they opened their backpacks, and the mom packed a lot of food and snacks, and they drank their water and their juice and their snacks, and they filled up, and they were doing really well. And then they started walking again. Abby stopped, and then she said, "Why do trees move?" And Joey said, "Trees don't move." And he said, "Unless it's windy or something." And it's not windy. He looked around and he said, "Well, that tree is moving." And she pointed behind Joey up the trail. And then he kind of paused and looked at her, and then he looked up the trail. He didn't see anything moving. And he said, "Abby, trees don't move." And she said, "Well, that one did." And again, this spooked him, and he didn't think Abby was messing with him or playing a trick on him. And he thought, well, she's just got an overactive imagination. And there was no wind. Abby and Joey are heading up the trail, going at a pretty slow pace. And Joey's wondering about the group. He's like, when are they going to be coming down the trail? He's starting to worry about them. Right then, Abby stops him, says, Joey, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to pee." And he goes, okay. Takes his pack off, sets it down, pulls out some toilet paper. Takes her hand, goes down the trail a little bit, and finds a spot where he can go off the trail, the brush, and then finds this tree so she can do her business. Gives her the toilet paper, turns his back, waits a couple minutes. She's done. They both come back out. They're on the trail. They go up the trail just where the pack is supposed to be. and the pack is not there. Joey can't see the pack, and he's feeling like frustrated, like, okay, it was right here. It was right here just 2 minutes ago. And then Abby says, maybe the moving tree took it. And he said, Abby, trees can't take backpacks. They don't have hands. They can't do that. And then he thought maybe an animal took it, a coyote or a fox or something, and just dragged it off the trail into the brush. So he's looking, going back and forth, looking for it. And then he thought about those rocks that they heard earlier. And he thought maybe somebody was watching us. And then just 2 minutes after we got off the trail and came back, they took the backpack and left with it. Or maybe they're even watching us right now. And he felt really spooked by this. And then he thought, okay, let's just keep going. We had some food, and I don't know what to say. I'm just really need to find this group and kind of keep going up the trail. They're going up the trail, and then Abby slips on a rock, falls on her knee, hands out, is just about ready to cry, and he's calming her down, and he's like, oh my gosh, she ripped her jeans, just bleeding, and he's trying to comfort her, and then what was weird is right before she fell, he heard something in the brush, just for not even 2 seconds, like a twig snap, and then some movement. And he felt like they were being watched, like something was around them, and he couldn't identify and figure out what this was. And he just was having this really frustrating, almost frightened feeling, and was thinking, this is just too much. This is just overwhelming. I'm on this island in the middle of this giant lake, and I got my 9-year-old niece with me, and we can't find the group, and the Uncle Roy's off with the boat, and he's not back yet. And he's just feeling frustrated and just about ready to kind of freak out. And then he calms himself down and decides, okay, let's just turn back and go down toward the boat and where the boat would be, and wait down there. And if the group catches up to us, great. If not, at least we'll be down there. No more looking for them. So they're going down the trail. And as they're going down the trail, Joey's out front and Abby's right behind him. He's keeping an eye on her. And he hears somewhere up above them voices, like talking, maybe even laughing. Couldn't quite tell. There's a slight breeze, but he was really certain of it. He heard something. So he said, okay, Abby, let's just stop right here. We'll sit on this rock and we'll wait for them. It sounds like they're coming. So they sat there and they waited and they waited, and no one showed up. So I thought, okay, all right, nobody's coming. Let's get up and let's continue. And it was steeper than he thought. And as they're going down, he's in front of Abby again. And then this time he fell and slammed his knee really hard. He had jeans on, but he felt just like he just smashed his knee, and maybe it was bleeding. And he's sitting there on the ground, tending to his knee, and then he looks up, and he notices he doesn't see Abby. He's like, oh my gosh. And he looks down the trail, and he sees off to the left her backpack just kind of slipping behind the brush and heading off the trail. He's like, oh my gosh. He gets up and he goes down the trail as fast as he can into the brush, and he sees Abby stepping into the forest. And he says, Abby, what are you doing? She said, I went to find some leaves to put on your knee to help heal it. And he goes, okay, thank you. I appreciate that, but you have to stay with me. You can't leave. You can't leave the trail. She said, okay. They're heading down the trail, heading for where the boat pickup would be. And then he hears from up above, a little bit off into the forest almost, what sounded like somebody yelling for help. But it was in this deep, low tone. It was kind of slow and dragged out. Help! Help! Kind of like that. He thought, Abby, there's it's got to be the group. And so they both started working their way back up the trail, keeping a close eye on Abby. And he's going up the trail. He doesn't hear this anymore, but he's waiting, expecting for the group to come around the corner, and he doesn't see anybody. And then he turns around and Abby's gone. She's disappeared. And he immediately moves as quickly as he can down the trail and back up the trail, and he's calling out her name. Abby! Abby! Where are you? And he can't hear her, doesn't see her, nothing. And he doesn't want to get too far from where he last saw her, so he's got to stay right in that area. And he was really wishing the group would show up, and no one showed up from this voice that was yelling for help. And he's panicked, he's looking and nothing, and then all of a sudden he hears the group coming down the trail. And he's like, you guys, Abby is missing. Please help. And they came down, and where did you last see her? It was like right in this area. And so they fan out, all 6 of them, and they go off the trail, 3 on each side, and it's pretty steep, so they can only do so much. And they went out in the forest looking and yelling her name. And after 10 or 15 minutes of this, Joey was just in an absolute panic. He looks up and he sees Abby coming down the trail, straight towards them. And he goes running up to her and goes, oh my gosh. And he was so happy to see her, and yet frustrated at the same time. And he was like, what happened to you? And she could sense that he was feeling upset. And she said, the tree bear came back and it wanted to show me something in the forest, so I went with it, and I meant to come right back. And he's like thinking like, okay, now this is a tree bear. And it was a moving tree before. And people are listening and they're like, what is she talking about? And he said, well, what did this look like? And she said, well, it was tall and thick and like a trunk, and like a bear. If a bear and a tree grew together, that's what it looked like. And he said, well, describe it some more. And she said, well, it's dark brown and really like a trunk, except it didn't have any leaves on it. And she went on to say it had a big face, big eyes, these big hands, and these big feet. And Joey said, Abby, trees don't have hands. I already told you that. And she was adamant. She said, well, this one did. And they were just happy to have her back. She was lost, and then they found her. And he knew that she had this overactive imagination, so he attributed a lot of this to that. And he just wasn't sure what really happened. And then he asked her, he said, Abby, how did you get up above us on the trail? And she said, well, the tree bear was really nice, and he was carrying me in the forest. We're kind of going up the big hill, and then I started crying because I heard you calling my name, and everyone is calling my name, and I started crying. And then the tree bear brought me over to the trail and set me down and disappeared. And then I heard you down below, and I came down the trail to you. He's like, okay, well, good. We're just glad that you're back. And so they got Abby and Joey in front of him, in front of the group, and they all worked their way down the trail to the boat pickup, and they had to wait a while, and then Uncle Roy showed up in the big tour boat. Everyone loaded on, and they departed and were heading back to Cleetwood Cove. And on the way back, Joey's sitting in the boat next to Abby, and he could smell this really distinct odor. It was really pretty strong. And it smelled like an old dog and dirty socks. And he remembered on the way over earlier that day that she didn't smell anything like that. And he thought, this is really weird. They get to this cove, help everybody off, and then Joey, Abby, and Uncle Roy go up the trail. It's about a mile to get up to the top, and Abby's mom is waiting for her. That night, they're at Uncle Roy's house with Abby's mom and Abby and Joey, and her mom was going through her backpack, and she noticed there was nothing in it. There was just some crumbs and an apple core, and she asked Abby, did you eat all your food? And Abby said, well, I had the juice box, drank that, and I had the sandwich, and then I gave the rest of it to the tree bear. And also, the tree bear took Joey's pack, and he wouldn't give it back. And then Abby's mom looks at Joey, and she says, what's a tree bear? And Joey just kind of shrugged his shoulders, just didn't really want to go there with it. And he had read later that Bigfoot is really curious about children, about kids. And before Abby and her mom left that night, he got a chance to talk to Abby, and he said, Abby, how did this tree bear communicate to you? Because it asked you to go off the trail, and you guys were talking about food, and she said, well, it tried talking to me, but it kind of had a hard time with words, and it was trying to say words. I didn't understand it, but one word I remember was the word help. And he said help, kind of this deep voice, but he said help. And right then and there, Joey realized either this tree bear had tried to trick him or tried to help him, but either way, it worked. And that is our story from Crater Lake National Park. That was a pretty wild story. And I've had other stories where Bigfoot is just really curious about kids and their sounds and when they're playing out in the forest, and pretty wild stuff. So, all right, you guys, if you guys like that, please like and subscribe. If you like my stories, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you. And as always, we'll see you on the next one. Keep hiking.